No matter who you are a fan of, please subscribe to support me. Thank you, love you all very much. Can Homelander really fight against DCEU Superman? Among the most prominent icons in superhero cinema, DCEU Superman has pretty much become a household name. However, if you haven't heard of Homelander, then there's something important we need to clear up. Homelander isn't just a random idea that popped up. His character is actually built on the traditional Superman archetype, but his entire nature and origin story are twisted in a much darker way. Homelander was introduced to the public as an alien who crash-landed on Earth as a child, presented as a new symbol of hope from the vast cosmos. But what the world heard was a carefully crafted lie, designed to create a superhero aura around him. The reality, however, was brutally different. Homelander was simply a child created in a lab, infused with a super serum as a secret formula to engineer the planet's most perfect biological weapon. While Superman grew up surrounded by love, guidance, and moral values nurtured day by day, Homelander's childhood was a journey completely stripped of human warmth. No one ever hugged him. No one taught him right from wrong with kindness. All he received were cold stares, indifferent nods from scientists, and endless tests to measure his potential threat. From a vulnerable child, he was turned into the ultimate product of ambition and control. And as an adult, the image Homelander projects to the public is completely opposite to his true inner nature. Outwardly, he shines as a symbol of salvation, gentle, benevolent, always smiling at the world. Inside, however, there's a huge void of unloved feelings, suppressed rage, and an unfillable loneliness. Superman is proof that power can be a force for good when wielded by someone with a pure heart, while Homelander clearly illustrates what happens when extreme power falls into the hands of an individual who has never known love or compassion. Next to Clark Kent, Homelander's differences and personalities stand out like two opposite poles. Clark is known as the embodiment of pure goodness, an individual with unimaginable power who still maintains his humanity and kindness thanks to the moral foundation the Kent family gave him since childhood. Born on Krypton but raised with human love, Superman understands empathy, boundaries, and responsibility when possessing superhuman abilities. For Homelander, no one taught him how to love. No one gave him the feeling of being protected. Instead of nurturing compassion, he was honed into a tool, a propaganda piece disguised as a superhero. Therefore, while Superman is proof that power can be guided by benevolence, Homelander is merely a flashy facade hiding inner chaos. When it comes to combat abilities, both possess iconic powers. Both Superman and Homelander can use heat vision. In a direct confrontation, this ability would likely not make a huge difference, as both can withstand the damage from their opponent's heat rays. They also have X-ray vision, but Homelander's weakness is that his X-ray vision is nullified by zinc. In terms of speed, Homelander is certainly not slow. He can outpace bullets and even keep up with an F-16 fighter jet. However, that's still minuscule when compared to Superman. The Kryptonian can reach the speed of light, enough to rival Flash in many situations. This is a disparity that would tip the battle heavily to one side right from the start. Homelander is confident because he's never faced an opponent powerful enough to threaten him, but Superman's first strike could shatter that complacency instantly. It's not because Homelander is weak, but because Superman operates on a completely different power tier. Even more important is his control. Superman isn't just strong, he also knows how to use that power with incredible precision. His mind, emotions, and abilities are always kept within safe limits. Homelander, on the other hand, is volatile and unpredictable, always fluctuating like a compass without direction. Remember the moment Superman held up an airplane, preventing it from crashing despite immense force? That's a delicate skill Homelander himself admitted he couldn't replicate. Homelander constantly tries to prove himself invincible in a world he dominates through fear and a misguided perception of his own power. Superman, however, despite possessing powers far beyond human standards, restrains himself with unwavering benevolence and empathy. That compassion sometimes becomes the only weakness others can exploit. However, in a scenario where Homelander faces the Man of Steel, that weakness becomes largely irrelevant. Superman is perfectly capable of destroying any kryptonite Homelander might try to use with a single heat ray in an instant. As for Homelander pursuing him, that's practically impossible. Superman's speed far exceeds any limit Homelander has ever reached. The disparity is so immense that the gap between them isn't just about speed, it's about two different levels of existence. Homelander has long been considered an invulnerable icon in the world of the boys because he's never encountered any alien being capable of threatening his life. But Superman is different. He has battled entities from distant galaxies, foes with power equal to or surpassing a Kryptonian. And through all those battles, he has always stood firm. When comparing Homelander to an opponent Superman has faced, General Zod is perhaps the closest match. Zod was a Kryptonian warrior trained since childhood, possessing combat intelligence, experience, and power almost equivalent to Superman's. Yet, Zod was defeated when Superman was forced to choose a final solution. This raises a simple question. If even Zod was subdued, how long could Homelander, who has never had to fight anyone on that level, possibly last? Superman possesses a whole arsenal of skills that Homelander has never demonstrated. These include his freeze breath, destructive level heat vision, the ability to withstand cosmic pressures, his composure in combat, and extensive experience fighting numerous alien adversaries. Each of these elements is something Homelander simply doesn't have. It's hard to imagine Homelander having any chance against the Kryptonian, who has single-handedly stood against threats capable of destroying entire dimensions. While I'm not overly familiar with Homelander, at a glance, I can see he doesn't even come close to Superman's power. He might have similar abilities, but Superman has literally moved a sun. When Homelander stands next to Superman, the disparity in their stature becomes almost cruelly obvious. Homelander looks like a twisted illustration of what Superman might be if he were utterly selfish, living only to satisfy his ego and personal desires. However, in terms of pure power, he's just a tiny speck compared to the Kryptonian's boundless strength. Homelander always sees himself as the pinnacle of power, yet he can't do the things Superman has demonstrated. He doesn't have the strength to lift an airplane, while Superman has moved entire planets, pulled celestial bodies into new orbits, and even a single sneeze could make stars vanish from the sky. This difference exposes Homelander's complete limitations compared to what Superman has achieved. Superman also has combat experience facing godlike entities: Doomsday, Darkseid, Zod, Steppenwolf, Kalibak. Each confrontation pushed him to his limits. Those battles forged Superman into a comprehensive warrior, one who knows how to control his power, overcome pressure, and confront opponents of his caliber. Homelander, on the other hand, is completely different. He has never had to fight for survival, never encountered an opponent who could force him to use his full strength. His world is simply too small for anyone to pose a real challenge. Stormfront and the Seven merely exist as a backdrop, overwhelmed by his power from the very first moment. The entire universe of the boys has never given Homelander a true fight. Because of this, Homelander easily uses his power to threaten, oppress, and even take lives without fear of consequence. No one in the boys can touch his power, and that has made him arrogant, tyrannical, and lawless. He is the sole god in a world without any true equals. Among those who could make him wary, Stormfront could be considered the rare individual closest to Homelander's level of influence. She is stronger than most superpowered individuals in the boys' universe, almost the only one not immediately crushed by Homelander. Still, she has not surpassed him, and her power remains overshadowed by Homelander. Should Homelander be forced to confront Superman, Superman's solar energy absorption alone would completely tip the scales of power. What's remarkable is that Superman wouldn't even need to sunbathe to deal with Homelander, because in his normal state, he already far surpasses anything Homelander has ever dreamed of. There's one thing the world has known for a long time. Superman never tolerates bullies or those who use their power to spread terror, and Homelander's very nature is precisely the type of behavior Superman despises most. In the Man of Steel's eyes, Homelander isn't a symbol, not a hero, and certainly not a protector of life. He's just a tyrant in a superhero costume, using his strength to torment and force others to worship him. Homelander's greatest tragedy is that he only appears formidable when there's no one strong enough to challenge him. The moment he faces a superior opponent, that majestic facade will crumble. He'll get angry, panic, then frantically try to escape. His spirit isn't built on courage, but merely a glossy shell hiding cowardice. When confronted with true power, that true nature will be mercilessly exposed. Consider if Superman's enemies were to enter Homelander's world. Doomsday, a creature created for slaughter. Darkseid, the embodiment of cosmic power. Or Zod, a Kryptonian warrior forged in battle. Not only would Homelander be torn to shreds in moments, but the entire Seven would be swept away like a gentle breeze across a battlefield. No matter how strong Stormfront is, she wouldn't withstand the destructive force of an Omega beam or a single swing from Doomsday. The truth is, Homelander's power, while far exceeding humans in the boys' world, is still just a tiny benchmark when compared to the beings Superman has faced. Homelander dominates his world because there's no one strong enough to challenge him. But when he steps into Superman's arena, he's nothing more than a braggart with limited power. In a real confrontation, the Man of Steel would achieve an overwhelming victory, not just a win, but such a dominant one that the outcome would seem predetermined from the start. This isn't a story of two strong men competing, it's the stark contrast between a symbol of hope and someone who turns power into a tool for spreading fear. And in that confrontation, Superman's victory is inevitable. So guys, that's it for now. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, I'll see you guys later, love you much.